Hey y'all. So I wanted to come to y'all today with a little message I typically don't talk about, and that's relationships, which is crazy because most of my books I'm talking about relationships, rather it's with friendships or with the opposite sex. And I don't know, I just wanted to come today just with a message from my book, my recent book, which is Bitter to Sweet, a single woman's guide to becoming whole so that you can attract better. And I don't know, you guys, I'm like so obsessed with this book. Like, me even just reading it, I'm like, wow, like, I am like so amazed. But I believe this book will just pretty much help women like who desire to become better but don't know how or don't even know what better looks like. Will help you become better in your mindset, to have better relationship with people, with your friends, with your family, have better a better mindset, better with being a businesswoman, just being a better you overall. And God given me this book because my second book, I talked about like wholeness, which I talk about in this book, but I felt like this was a book where God was speaking to me to not only encourage the women but help activate women. So the second book, I more so talked about purpose, knowing your purpose. If you don't have an understanding of what your purpose is, my second book talks a lot about knowing your purpose, seeking. Pretty much God is the one who tells you who you are called to be. I am just the one to help push you to him and encourage you to build a relationship with him. I don't know your purpose, but God do. And it is very important that you have a relationship with him so that he can be able to reveal those things to you, because we all was called here on earth for a reason. And if you're watching this channel, you just happen to stumble upon this channel, then this message is for you. God has an amazing plan for your life according to Jeremiah 29:11, which happens to be my favorite scripture ever. That's what God has given me when he called me and told me that he's called me to help women. So I wanted to make sure I'm doing my assignment and I'm doing it well. So yes, I just happened to stumble upon one of the sections in my book talking about becoming the one. Now, I kind of get a little shy away when it comes to talking about relationships. I may share a little tad bit like about relationships. I don't talk about my relationships or anything like that, but well, I talk about it in the book, but I don't really do videos. But I'm a little shy, so I'm trying to, put myself out there as far as like expressing myself and just really being vulnerable, so that way my testimony can help someone else. So one of the parts God gave me about the list, and I have heard so many people talk about the list. So just in case you're watching this and you're like, what list? So, every single woman have a list of things that they look for in a mate, as well as guys. If you're watching this, you may have stumbled upon this video and you may have a list of what you look for in a woman. And pretty much this list may talk about things that you want your potential mate to have, or things that it could be material things, it could be spiritual things, but this is your list that you have. And if I can be honest, sometimes the list consists of things that we want and not always what we need, because there's a big difference between a need and a want. And I talk more about that in my second book, A Single Woman's Guide to Being Happy and Whole, that you have an understanding that God don't always just give us what we want, but he gives us what we need. And sometimes the people that we think we need in our life, we may not see it like years later that that person will bring harm to us or be no good. Pretty much, what they say, a wolf in sheep clothing. So I've written the list. Now, most people I've heard talk about, like, well, throw away the list. The list is nothing. But I only encourage the list because I feel like me, when I started off, like, getting out of a relationship, I didn't know what I wanted. So a list for me was just a reminder of the things that, like, I wanted. But my list didn't consist of, like, material things like, oh, he have to be 6'2", he have to be this complexion, he have to be this race. Nothing like that. My list consists of spiritual things like he have to have a relationship with God. He have to be a family person because I'm a family person. And my list pretty much consists of things that God showed me, things about my husband, my mate, that he told me he will bring one day. So that was some of the things that in my list that I put in. I'm not encouraging anyone to put anything that is just based on like physical, because those are things that can change over time. But you want spiritual. You want somebody who's going to love you like Christ loved the church, someone who's caring. If you know, God said that let's say if you have kids and you want someone who loves children, because you don't want to marry someone and this man don't want children, or maybe you don't have any children, you desire like, I want to get married and have children, and then you marry someone who tells you from the beginning that I don't want children, and then you think marriage is going to change that man's mind, and it's not. So you want to make sure, okay, I have on my list like, I want someone who wants children or who wants to travel around the world. Pretty much, I would say if you're going to do the list, your list should be some things that your husband or your wife should compliment you on, okay? And that's all going back to knowing your purpose, knowing what God called you to do. Because when you have an understanding of who you are and what God called you to do, what's your assignment, your husband, your spouse, your mate, they're going to compliment that. You guys are not coming as, I used to always say, 50%, 50%. But no, you guys are going to be whole. You're coming together for purpose to do God's will here on earth, so that the mate that God has for you, he has to compliment you. So you can't just be putting like, okay, I want him to be 6'2", he got to be light skinned, dark skinned. Maybe that's a desire, that maybe that's how your husband looks. Who knows? God will show you. He may not. But I just want to talk about the list. But I'm going to just kind of read a few things that I put in the book. Ladies, what happens when you meet the guy you truly desire? Have you ever written the list? I'm quite sure everyone has heard of the list. If you ever heard of it, the list consists of the things you have written down, which tells what your desires are, like things you're willing to compromise in a relationship and your expectations. That's another thing in my list. Like, even if you don't write the list, at least have an understanding. My list is just a reminder for me, because sometimes I forget, you guys. I'm not going to even lie to you. But my list is a reminder, like, of things like I write down, like, what am I willing to compromise on? Like, what are my values? Like, what are some things I stand on? Like, I'm not going to compromise my relationship with God for any man. That's something that I put on my list that I stand by. And if I meet anyone and that's like a deal breaker for them, then they got to go. So that's some of the things. And what's your expectations? Know your expectations. Like, have an understanding. Don't just, I talk about this all the time, being single for a season. You're not just sitting there waiting on a husband, but you're working, you're building up your character. Like, you're getting better. You're perfecting your crafts. You're doing things. You're staying busy, that you're not just so focused on getting a mate that you're not enjoying your now. You're learning more about yourself. You're learning your what you like, because you don't want to get with someone. I see people all the time get in relationships and they lose themselves. They always feel like they have to be around their husband or their boyfriends, and pretty much they don't have a life outside of that mate. You want to make sure you have your own life, that when he comes or when she comes, that this person just don't make you happy. Like, you're already happy. When you guys come together, you're happier. So I always talk about, what are your expectations? Have some expectations. Like, know these things, so that way it just makes everything so easy, and you don't have to put too much expectations in that guy and trying to make you happy. So let's see, where to leave off. Some have said get rid of the list, but I encourage you to keep it. Let it be your guide. And when you meet someone who checks only 2 checks on your list, don't compromise your happiness to satisfy the other person. If you're dating someone and you find yourself breaking rules like your values, like I would say, like one of my values is a man have to treat me like a queen, honor and respects me. That's not something I'm willing to compromise. Or if I see you're not respecting me or just talking to me any type of way, like I have to cut you off. Like you have to respect me. Like I don't think that's something anyone should compromise on, because I don't care who they are. You want someone to cherish you. So not only that, and I talk about with the list. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but let me finish. Think about whether you need to continue to have a relationship with that person. Begin to position yourself what you believe in the Lord to perform. Give the Almighty One something to work with. You have to work your faith. Have an understanding of what you don't want helps you to better understand the things you need. So I talk about not only have an understanding of the things you need, but also have an understanding of the things you don't want, because counterfeits will come. And you got to be able to understand, of course, you want to have the discernment, the wisdom to know who's the one, but you also need to have the discernment and understanding of the counterfeits, because the counterfeits can be looking like the one. Like if you're thinking the devil's gonna send you someone that's ugly and just gonna, you'll be like, no, he knows what you want and he knows how to bring it. And so you have an understanding. You gotta have wisdom. But this is why I always teach all of the single women to have a relationship with God and to know his voice. And the voice of a stranger you shall not follow. You won't be led into astray. You won't be led into marrying the wrong person, because when you have a relationship with God, when the right one comes along, there's going to be peace. God is not the author of confusion. If you second guess and you're not sure about things and he's trying to get you to indulge in sin, no, God is not going to send you someone who's going to lead you in temptation. But if that person is drawing you from God and not pushing you to God, then you need to reevaluate and pray and ask God, is the one for me? Because God is not going to send you someone you're already on track. You're working on you becoming better. Send you somebody who's going to push you back 10 steps back, because he should be pushing you up. He should be helping you. You're already on level 10, helping you get to level 11. So really evaluate and think about that if you are entertaining someone. Your list should be a reflection of you. Just remember to never expect from others what you cannot or are unable to bring to the tables. It is meaningless. We as women need to stop having these high expectations when we are not perfect. Having areas where there are growth opportunities. You know you're growing when you're no longer wanting what you once couldn't let go of. I wanted to stop there, ladies. And this is one thing people talk about, like getting rid of the list. And this is why I go hard for, if you're going to have your list, don't have a list of things like saying a guy better have A1 credit, he better have this amount of money, and you don't have A1 credit, or you don't have that amount of money. Your list should be a reflection of you. So the same thing that you are requiring from that guy, you should be able to bring the same things to the table. So that way you guys both coming together whole. Because if you're requiring a guy to bring this to the table, that means that's a 50-50 relationship. And no, in this season, we want wholeness. We want to be whole. And we want to desire wholeness in our mates and our partners. So don't just be writing a list of things. I would say fleshly things. I'm going to call it that. And you don't even make up on your list. So my list, I put down like things that I know I needed to work on. And as I look at the list as my guide, like not my guide, my guide to just understanding and trying to remember some of the things. But as I'm looking at the list, I'm like, okay, these are areas, these are the things that I desire. And I may not be there in this area, but I'm going to work on becoming better. And that's great too. But don't just be putting stuff in, demanding, oh, you better be this and you better be that. And you're not doing it. So writing those things down on your list, it's good if you want to write that down, but let that be your opportunity of growth in, okay, these are areas that I need to work on, and pray about it. You guys, I don't know what happened. My camera dropped. But nevertheless, I think I left off on talking about our expectations and on our list, making sure that we're not requesting things from our potential mate, things that we can't even bring to the table. So let's just make sure those things that we are desiring, that we're able to bring those same things. And if those are things that we desire, we require in our mate, just make sure, let those be opportunities of growth on how you can become better. Because singleness is your time not only to just live freely, but your time to just pretty much work on you. Let God work on becoming a better you. And I'm not saying that when your mate comes, you're going to be perfect, because sometimes God may send that man to help, in a way, heal you, like help bring out the best in you. And I don't know what's going on with my camera. Yikes. Okay, I don't know. I'm gonna have to hold the phone, y'all. I'm still new to this YouTube thing and using these cameras, but let's see. Your character will attract the right individual who possess the things you need. Maybe you're waiting for a business partner, a spouse, or a friend before getting a vision for how you want other people to perceive you. Can I tell you something? Godly connections are not wrapped up in any mess. There are individuals who are laser focused about their business and hate trauma. You will not be discovered when you give out bad vibes. Nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. It's not fun. Be the one who others desire to hang around. If you're desiring a husband, then start acting like a wife. Change up your daily schedule and act as if you have a husband at home. Ask any wife about their workload, and they will tell you that it changed them drastically once they became married. Don't get me wrong, I'm just telling it like it is. A wife has to consider her husband on certain matters. So really think about what is it that you desire and act as if it's already done. And I say that's an act of faith. And I remember this one lady prophesying. She said, single ladies who desire to have a husband, wake up every day, roll over in bed as if you got your husband in bed with you, and you thank God. Thank God for your Holy Ghost sanctified husband, your husband who loves you, your husband whose affection is, your husband who have the mind of Christ, your husband who prays for you. And wake up every day, cook, clean, doing things that you know the kind of wife you want to be. Do you know what kind of wife you want to be? That's a question, something that you can sit and pretty much think about. Do you know what kind of wife you want to be? Or how about you pray and ask God what kind of wife he called you to be? Because everybody is different. And I know a lot of times people look at other married couples and say these are marriage goals, but it's okay to be happy for other people's marriages, but not every marriage will be your portion. Your marriage may not look or be a reflection of other people's marriages, but when you have God and you keep God the centerfold of your marriage, he will make the best out of every moment and give you guys creative ways on how to be happy and how to enjoy each other, how to have balance. And I just want you, just in your season of singleness, to really focus on building that relationship with God, because he's going to prepare you for these things. I don't want you to be lost or just not knowing what to do when that time comes, because trust me, if you can't find balance in your life and you're single, just imagine that moment when God brings that one, and then you get married, and then you have children, then you're doing your business or ministry or whatever God called you to do. Let's find balance, ladies. And I know I talked about the list, but I'm just highly encouraging women on how to be happily single. You know, a lot of times, I know Valentine's Day just passed, and I don't know, I thought it was very weird. I was going in the store, and it was like a lot of Valentine's Day candies and gifts was still there. And I'm like, well, maybe a lot of people didn't have Valentine's Day, but that's not just the whole meaning. But I just really want you ladies, you guys, if you're watching, to truly just be happy, be happily single, and just being intentional is very important, especially in times where we are now, to be intentional with your purpose. Be so focused on your assignment and so wrapped up in God that when you look up the husband there, when you look up the wife there, don't be so focused that you make the husband or the wife idols. You don't want that, because God is a jealous God, and he say put no one before him. So stay focused, doing what God called you to do. And if you lost your vision on what it is that you called to do, you got discouraged, get back up, seek God, ask him, repent, and just ask God to show you what it is that he called you to do. I advise you to get a journal. I also have a journal that I just put out. It's 120 pages. I will link it down below. It's just a way to teach you how to be intentional. I share like exercises Monday through Friday, like your meal prep and things that you can do to be intentional. You want to be intentional. I believe that's part of being a Proverbs 31 woman. She's educated. She knows things to help her family. So you just start doing these things, practicing now. So when that time comes, you won't be so overwhelmed. Like, because I see women who are married, who have children, and they just seem overwhelmed. And I just want you to know, like, how you can find balance, because God's going to give you the grace to do it anyways. He's giving you grace to be single, because a lot of people don't know how to be single. Let's be honest. And a lot of people don't know how to be married. They don't know how to balance the lifestyle. So that's why you got to be content in every area of your life. Because when you have faith and trust in God, he'll give you the grace to overcome your seasons of whatever you're in. So I just wanted to encourage someone today. I know I went a little off topic, but I hope this helped. And just know that you're beautiful. Just know that you're amazing. Just know that God have great things for you in this season. Continue to follow me as I share more encouraging messages and just talk about ways on how you can become better. So you guys be blessed.